Hi, fourth grade. White Fang, Chapter 15. The Scott Estate. Here in Sierra Vista, which was the name of Judge Scott's place, White Fang quickly began to make himself at home. He had no further serious trouble with the dogs. The Scotts had allowed White Fang into the house, so Dick and the other dogs accepted him and left him alone. Not so with Collie. Though she accepted him, she continued to pick on him and nip at his legs. White Fang made it a point to keep out of her way. When he saw her, he got up and walked off. White Fang learned to accept Weedon Scott's family, since they belonged to his master. There was Judge Scott, Weedon's father, and the judge's wife, Weedon's mother. There were the master's two sisters, Beth and Mary. There was Weedon Scott's wife, Alice, and his children, Weedon and Maud, toddlers of 4 and 6. White Fang had disliked children ever since they mistreated him in an Indian village. When Scott's children first approached him, he snapped warningly. Scott gave him a sharp word, so White Fang let them pat him, though he didn't like it. After a time, he grew fond of the family and would lie on the porch at the judge's feet as he read the paper. He allowed everyone to pat him. He even began to like the children. This was a new life and a new land for White Fang. In the Northland, White Fang had hunted for food. He did not know that things were different here in the Santa Clara Valley of the Southland. Sauntering around the corner of the house in the early morning, he came upon a chicken that had escaped from the chicken yard. With a couple of leaps and a flash of teeth, he scooped up the frightened and squawking chicken. It was fat and tender. White Fang licked his chops. Later in the day, he came upon another stray chicken near the stables. One of the stable hands ran to the rescue with a buggy whip. At the first cut of the whip, White Fang left the chicken to go for the man. The man cried out and staggered backward. He dropped the whip and shielded his throat with his arms. Suddenly, Collie appeared on the scene. Just as she had saved Dick, the deerhound's life, she now saved the man's. She rushed upon White Fang as the man escaped into the stables, and White Fang backed away before Collie's wicked teeth. "He'll learn to leave chickens alone," the master said that evening, "but I can't give him the lesson until I catch him in the act." 2 nights later came the act. After the chickens had gone to roost, White Fang climbed over the fence. A moment later, he was inside the hen house, and the slaughter began. In the morning, the stableman laid out 50 dead white leghorn hens for Weedon Scott to see. Angrily, Scott held White Fang's nose down to the hens. At the same time, he cuffed him soundly. White Fang never raided a chicken roost again. He had learned the law. But Judge Scott did not believe that the wolf was cured. Once a chicken killer, always a chicken killer, he said. Weedon Scott did not agree with his father. "I'll tell you what I'll do," he challenged. "I'll lock Wolf in with the chickens all afternoon." "But think of the chickens," said the judge. "And I'll pay you $1 gold coin for every chicken he kills." Weedon went on. "But if at the end of the afternoon Wolf has not harmed a chicken, you must solemnly repeat to him, 'Wolf, you are smarter than I thought.'" The judge agreed to the test. The whole family watched as White Fang was taken and left with the chickens. The chicken killer simply lay down and went to sleep. Once he got up for a drink of water, but he calmly ignored the chickens. As far as he was concerned, they did not exist. He had learned the law. He strayed all afternoon, then leaped the fence and sauntered back to the house. And on the porch, before the delighted family, Judge Scott sat face to face with White Fang. Slowly and solemnly, he repeated, "Wolf, you are smarter than I thought." There was so much to learn. There were cats at the houses the master visited that must be left alone. And there were dogs everywhere that snarled at him, and that he must not attack. And then, on the crowded sidewalks, there were persons aplenty. They would stop and look at him and, worst of all, pat him. Cats, dogs, turkeys, people, all these things he must let alone. In fact, he began to think that he must leave all live things alone. And then, one day, he saw Dick scare up a jackrabbit and chase it. In the end, White Fang figured out that he must not touch any tame animal. But the other animals, the squirrels and quail and rabbits, were creatures of the wild and were fair game.